Hello my dear learners, welcome to the channel. My name is Namita and today we are going to talk about note making. How to make notes to make your reading more effective. Since I keep suggesting you to read more books, but if you don't know how to take the maximum out of that book, then what's the point in reading? So if you truly want to read it effectively and be an active reader, then today's video is going to be very useful for you. I have already created one video on how to understand what you read, which I'm going to link over here. You can go watch that video and then come back to this one and see how beneficial note making can be for you. Now, we don't need a lot of paraphernalia for reading and making notes. I would say simply take one book. The book that I'm taking today is The Art of Conversation. It's a very nice book. Teach Yourself the Art of Conversation by Eric Watson. This is the book. I'm going to take one simple topic from this one just to make you understand this whole note making process, and then you can take some pens. I always read with a highlighter, so you can also have a highlighter, a pencil with you, a highlighter and a pen. That's all that you need. We don't need a lot of things, and of course a notebook, because we are going to note down and we have to make notes today. I'm not talking about the notes which you need to make for studying, but somewhere it is close to that when we are reading a book. So how to make notes accordingly. So I have chosen one topic, this clear and natural expression. Now this is important for you also, those who are learning English. This can be wonderfully enlightening for you. Let me read this for you and I will tell you how I do it. I keep a pencil. I never use a pen in my books, and I don't know if you use it or not, but I personally cannot mark my books with pens. I cannot do it, so I like to keep a pencil. Now let's start reading this topic, clear and natural expression. A person may talk much and in a roundabout fashion, and yet his expression can be clear. If he does not lose sight of his subject, clear expression does not mean only clear language, which is easily understood, or an audible voice, which is soothing and delightful to listen to. It also means the ability to keep his goal always in sight, no matter how far or how often he may stray from the main point. Now, what will I do? From the first paragraph, whatever I have learned, I will recall it and write it down. But for like your reference, what am I going to do? I'm going to read the whole paragraph and I will make the notes later, and that is how I do, and that is how it is the best way to read one paragraph, one page or one chapter, and then recall the contents and write it in the form of notes. All right, I'll move on to the second one. In this sense, a person may be said to have a clear expression even if he talks much or fluently, or even if he talks in long and roundabout sentences and expressions. When we speak of clear expression, we should not confuse it with brevity. Now, brevity is a new word for you. I am marking brevity here. Though it is easier to be clear when one is brief, one can express oneself just as well with the use of detail, provided, as observed before, the main argument or point is kept well in sight. Long-winded explanations and delving into unnecessary detail distract the conversation and cause it to stray from the original subject. Any subject that needs excessive explanation is obviously beyond the ken of the company, and the conversationalist finds himself in, and so one may say that the point of the conversation is lost. If the participants need everything to be explained to them, then the conversation becomes a lecture. It would be better, therefore, to judge the capabilities of the company and keep the conversation within the limits of its understanding. If the expressions used by him are to be clear, a person's ideas must also be clear. Unless thoughts that find expression in language are clear and unambiguous. Do you know this word? Let me mark it for you. Unambiguous. A person person will not be able to express himself in a clear-cut and easily understandable way, another good rule is not to try to explain things too much. Under the same heading would fall the dictum that one should leave something out and talk upon the main and important points, allowing the audience to fill gaps mentally by themselves. I will mark dictum also for you. Talking less than necessary is always better than talking more than necessary and will stimulate the interest of the group. I really like this line. I would want to write it as a quote, so I'm marking it here. I'll read it once again for you. Talking less than necessary is always better than talking more than necessary and will stimulate the interest of the group, which in turn encourages greater participation by all. Though clear expression thus may be a wide and difficult term to define, its results by the way of keeping the interest in conversation in and boredom out are always seen easily. So this was one paragraph. I have highlighted this one and I have underlined a few difficult words which I thought that I need to know the meaning of. It is for your reference. I know these words. I'm quite familiar with them. Okay, so now what I do, how I write my notes. This is one quote which I've really liked, and out of this entire paragraph, I liked this one the most. So I will write it down first. I have made my notes for you. So I have written it on the top. Talking less than necessary is always better than talking more than necessary and will stimulate the interest of the group. So I have written it here. I hope you can see it. And then I have written the topic which was clear and natural expression. Now out of each paragraph I have made some notes. This is for your reference. You don't need to use these colorful pencils or anything. You don't need to use this. I have done it because I had to show it to you. This is how you just write the pointers and it is more than sufficient. So from the first paragraph I have taken, don't lose sight of the subject. Simple language, audible voice and focus on the main point are important. Even detailed speech can be impressive if the main argument is intact. Keeping the capabilities and understanding of the listener in mind while speaking. Don't explain much and keep the expression clear and precise. And in the end, I have written, if you want to avoid boredom and lack of participation in a group conversation, then keep your expression clear and precise. So this is how you can make your notes, one heading and then pointers. That's as simple as that. You can even choose to go for summary. If you feel that you have to write summary, then recall. And for summary, always go for your own words. Don't jot down the same points, exactly the same sentences that were written in the book. Use your own expression. But for quotes, yes, keep them as it is. The best quotes, the best lines, which are going to be very few out of the whole book. This will help you recall what you have learned. This is going to be the gist of the whole thing. Now, because this channel is all about English, that is why I'm including the vocabulary words. Otherwise, it's absolutely all right if you don't want to write them down. I have written these, I marked these three words: brevity, unambiguous and dictum. So I have written them with a different color, your choice. Now brevity means short and quick speech. So see what have I done. Brevity means something which is precise and it is mostly used for speech. So for like writing and speech, both it is used. So what have I done to remember and recall this, because this is always your question, how will I remember and recall the vocabulary? This is how you will do it. I have written the meaning and then I created one sentence of my own using it. He is famous for the brevity of his speeches. I have written one more sentence. Brevity is one of the most important skills a writer can possess. Then we have unambiguous. Now unambiguous means not open to more than one interpretation. Ambiguous means something which has more than one meaning. Do you remember? I told you this root once, or maybe I told you one word which I'm very sure, ambivert. Now ambi is a root which means more than one. Ambi. Now ambiguous means a word or a statement or an expression which has more than one interpretations. It has more meanings to it. So ambidextrous, a person who can write with more than one hand, who can use both his hands to write well, ambidextrous. Then we have ambivert, who is both introvert and extrovert, ambi. Same with ambiguous, ambivalent, when you're confused which decision to take. So ambi is one root, and there are so many words with it. I think I've discussed in one of my vocabulary videos. So I used one sentence, ambiguous, in forming one sentence. The school must provide unambiguous guidelines to the students regarding the COVID preventive measures. I made one, and the other one I thought to make using ambiguous. These days, most of the hip hop songs are intentionally ambiguous. So now I will never forget these words, and I'll be able to use them later on. Now, there was this word dictum. I believe that you all know what dictum is. It's a general truth which is expressed in a short statement, just like any old saying. Like we say, no pain, no gain. It's a dictum. Or you are what you eat. It's an old saying. So this is how I have written. I have written all the three words, made two sentences out of each one of them. For dictum, I have written dictums. So this is how we make notes. This is how we write all the pointers, and for vocabulary you can write the words down. It is so important when you read a book that you have a notebook, a highlighter, a pen, as many as you want, the colored ones and everything, and even a pencil by your side, so that you can recall what you have read. Otherwise you'll forget it. Being an active reader in the beginning is important. Later on, even if you're a passive reader, you will be able to recall a lot of things. But if you've just gotten into reading, make sure that you are making notes. It's very important to make notes, very smaller ones, half a page. Just note down the points. What I personally do is I always note down the quotes. I highlight them and then collect it in a notebook. I have already told you. So this is a very good way to remember all that you have read and to work on your self-improvement. When you're reading books which are helping you in your growth, self-help kind of books, which are non-fiction books, it's important. With fiction, we don't make notes because that's something which is very engaging and you're just reading. But with books which we are using for self-learning, it's important that we make notes. So this is the simplest way of making notes. You can do that. Simple pointers in your own words. Write a summary by recalling it and writing it down in your own words, using your own expressions, and jotting down the difficult words, looking for the meaning in dictionary, and then making your own sentences out of it. So I hope this video is going to be very helpful for you if you start making notes, not only for the books you read, but also for the videos you're watching. Otherwise, any knowledge gained would never get a chance to be applied. So make notes if you want to make your reading, your learning, your gaining knowledge more effective. All the very best to you in your self-improvement journey. I will see you in my next video. Till then, take care of yourself. Bye-bye for now.